A tiny wooden bullet with a starting bid of a staggering $5 million. This is because it's the last bullet in the world made from white oak steak, and it holds the power to kill even the most formidable of the Originals vampires. At this moment, Vincent, guided by the ancestral witches, successfully locates the white oak steak bullet. But soon, a beautiful vampire sets her sights on him. Knowing she's no match for Vincent, the woman quickly sends for reinforcements. However, Vincent, as the regent of the witches, easily handles the few vampires with little effort. Just as he prepares to deal with the woman, he's horrified to discover that his magic has no effect on her. The woman bites into his neck, revealing that she is merely an anonymous assassin. Without mercy, she knocks Vincent unconscious and takes the white oak steak bullet. Marcel orders the vampire faction to surround Klaus's estate to ensure Elijah's safety, but there's been no progress in the search for the white oak steak bullet. Josh humbly mentions that he minored in computer science and even wrote a paper on the dark web, so he knows that someone is auctioning off the white oak steak bullet there. Marcel is skeptical of this information, but Vincent quickly confirms it. Lucien arrives with a large bouquet to visit Freya. Freya doesn't seem to be adverse to his advances. Cole informs Elijah that Finn has been resurrected and insists that Finn is the one spreading the apocalyptic prophecy. However, Freya points out that the prophecy had already been rampant even before the brothers were resurrected. Finn also steps forward to declare his innocence. The Michelson brothers, confined to the estate, are rife with conflict. Marcel quickly finds a vampire who was invited to the dark web auction and uses his fingerprint to unlock his phone and obtain the auction invitation code. Josh logs onto the website. The girl in the video feed is none other than Sophia, the assassin who attacked Vincent. Sophia announced the current bid for the white oak steak bullet, prompting the Originals' enemies to eagerly raise the stakes in the comments. Marcel instructed Josh to bid everything.
An infamous Strix right means the whole order pledges to fulfill any one command.
Surprisingly, the plan worked. Josh's cell phone rang soon after, and a time and place for delivery was agreed upon. Josh, posing as the buyer, knocked on Sophia's door. He was just about to greet her with a friendly handshake when Sophia mercilessly exposed Josh's true identity. A swarm of vampires descended on Josh, and outnumbered, he quickly found himself at a disadvantage. Sophia declared that her employer was targeting the Michelson family, and there was no need for anyone else to make unnecessary sacrifices. She calmly wiped the blood off her chest, showing no intention of letting Josh go. Finn, back from the depths of hell, had not lessened his hatred for the family one bit. He had no desire to become a vampire again, nor did he want to stay with his family. Finn told Elijah that he only wanted Freya to transfer his soul into a witch's body so he could leave his siblings far behind. Elijah was tempted by the idea, but Cole was determined not to let his older brother live a happy and peaceful life. Even though Davina did everything she could to seduce Cole into doing what lovers do, he still couldn't quell his anger. Obsessed with thoughts of revenge against his brother, Davina urged Cole to think about something else, but Cole was horrified to realize that he wanted to tear his girlfriend's throat out, so he quickly fled. After taking a serious beating, Josh finally saw reinforcements arrive. Marcel ripped up the hearts of two vampires. Josh complained that they were a little too late. Turns out Josh's mission wasn't to take the white oak steak bullets at all. It was to stick his own blood on Sophia's body. Josh bit into his wrist. Vincent quickly tracked down Sophia's location. Sophia's car was stuck in traffic, and Marcel tapped on the window and introduced himself with a friendly smile. Sophia pushed open the car door and tried to flee, but Vincent had already cornered her in a nearby alley with his crew. Sophia stated that she dared not reveal who her employer was. She even threatened Marcel, warning him that if he insisted on getting involved, he would die a terrible death. You've never seen Klaus like this, forced to wear a baseball cap that Haley bought him just to keep a low profile, to get back at her for the ridiculously ugly hat. He seizes every opportunity to complain non-stop.
I'm quite sure this glass hasn't been washed in the past decade, which makes it the cleanest thing.
When Haley grumbles at him, he snaps back, accusing her of having ulterior motives for this trip.
What was it? Couldn't bear to spend another day giving Elijah the mournful doe eyes.
The bar owner finally has enough and asks if they really need to be so loud. In the midst of their chatter, Haley learns that a 15-year-old girl accidentally triggered the werewolf curse, but by now, the wolves were on their own. Haley feels a pang of sympathy and decides to delay their escape to comfort the girl who accidentally killed someone. Klaus vehemently opposes her decision, insisting that now is not the time to play therapist and that Hope's safety should come above all else. Haley fires back, saying it's Klaus's coldness that has left them surrounded by enemies. She adds that one day, Hope will face something similar, and she hopes that someone will be there to help their daughter when that time comes. Klaus relents. As night falls, Davina finally comes face to face with Finn. Finn sneers, saying that Cole once loved a girl as beautiful as her, but that girl was dead within a week. Davina's resentment towards Finn reaches its peak, and without hesitation, she casts a spell on him. Finn screams in agony as a prominent scar appears out of nowhere on his body. Davina permanently binds Finn's soul to his vampire body, shattering his hopes of becoming a witch forever. Enraged, Finn quickly grabs Davina by the throat, but Cole rushes in and knocks Finn to the ground. The conflict between the brothers escalates rapidly, and they start fighting without a word. Elijah tried to mediate, but Cole's anger was hard to quell. Cole said he'd rather go outside and be shot by the white oak stake bullet than stay with his brothers any longer. Cole then leaves the house with Davina, but Elijah isn't worried about Cole's safety because Marcel has already handed over the white oak stake bullet to him. Freya uses a spell to ignite a bonfire, and Elijah tosses the white oak stake bullet into the flames. However, Finn, desperate to escape being trapped in a vampire's body for eternity, pushes his hand into the fire. Ignoring the searing pain, he needs the white oak stake bullet to end his own life. Finn retrieves the white oak stake bullet from the fire with his bare hands, and Elijah demands that he hand the bullet back. The two stand there, locked in a standoff, neither willing to back down. Lucien seized the moment and swiftly snatched the white oak stake bullet from Finn's hand. He hands it back to Elijah, insisting that it be destroyed immediately, but Finn declares that eternal life is his punishment. Lucien offers a compromise. He suggests that the white oak stake bullet be entrusted to Freya because she loves both brothers equally. Freya has 1,000 spells to ensure the safety of the white oak stake bullet. Meanwhile, Sophia, who had been captured, reveals a shocking truth. She intentionally let herself be captured by Marcel and deliberately handed him the white oak stake bullet. This was all part of a plan orchestrated by her employer. The candles suddenly went out, and Vincent seemed to be summoned by the ancestral witches once again. Visions of prophecy flashed before his eyes, and blood began to stream from them. Josh watches in shock, but when Vincent finishes his communion with the ancestors, it's as if he's become a different person. Without warning, he snaps Josh's neck and then proceeds to untie Sophia's ropes.
They don't want me to kill you. They want me to help you.
Haley finally finds the werewolf girl who accidentally killed someone, and following werewolf tradition, she helps the girl perform a ritual to lay the spirit to rest. Seeking peace for her soul, Klaus tracks them down and arrives at the scene, offering Haley a sincere apology.
I've given you 1,000 reasons to abandon me. You haven't. Yet.
They agree to watch out for each other on the rest of the journey, but Klaus suddenly notices a symbol carved into a tree trunk, the logo of Lucien's real estate company. This means that Lucien has never stopped hunting werewolves. He quickly realizes something is wrong. Freya, carrying the white oak stake bullet, was about to get into her car when Vincent suddenly blocked her path. Freya didn't understand Vincent's intentions, but before she could react, Vincent knocked her out. A mysterious van approached from a distance, and the man who stepped out wasted no time in abducting Freya. Meanwhile, Marcel discovered the interrogation room completely empty. Elijah realized they had been deceived. The most dangerous enemy had been lurking right under their noses. Lucien finally revealed his true nature, grinning as he pulled the white oak stake bullet from Freya's pocket. In the shadow of a towering white oak tree, a mother once cast a powerful spell, turning her children into vampires. As a result, the white oak stake became the only weapon capable of killing the Originals. 1,000 years later, standing beside the remnants of the white oak tree, Lucien decided to recreate that spell. He made a pact with the ancestral witches, forcing Vincent to do his bidding. Determined to become a species superior to the Originals, Freya declared that she would never help Lucien cast the spell, but Lucien simply stated that all he needed was her blood, then bit into Freya's wrist. Meanwhile, Vincent had left a crucial clue at the bar, the only place where he wasn't affected by the ancestral witch's magic. Recalling the time when Finn possessed his body, Vincent realized that there must be some connection between them. If Davina could locate that connection, she could use magic to track down both him and Lucien. To do so, Vincent spilled his own blood. The Originals brothers decided to split up. Davina and Cole were tasked with breaking the spell. Finn and Elijah were tasked with rescuing Freya. Klaus was immediately informed of the situation by phone. Haley tells Klaus that he can rush back to help his brothers, but she's determined to find the missing werewolf. Klaus didn't leave in a hurry. He trusted his brothers to handle the obvious threat and chose to join Haley in pursuing the hidden one, because in the end, everything would lead back to Lucien. Lucien filled a mystical vessel with Freya's blood and then poured in a jar of an unknown liquid. He handed a spellbook to Vincent, saying it was the same spell Esther had used all those years ago, but Vincent refused to cast the spell. The ancestral witches didn't give him a choice, though his head throbbed with unbearable pain, forcing him to reach into the stone bowl and begin chanting the spell. Davina locks onto the approximate location of the enemy. Cole realized that Mystic Falls was nearby, and he became increasingly agitated, saying that a Tibetan silver bowl could help refine their search, but it was all at Camille's place. Davina, worried that her boyfriend might hurt someone, insisted they go together to Camille's home. Meanwhile, Elijah and Finn drove into Mystic Falls territory. Returning to this place stirred unpleasant memories for both brothers. Elijah teased his brother, saying that even after 900 years of slumber, he was still so impatient, but Finn countered that being sealed away for 900 years is nothing like being trapped for just 10. At first, you're unconscious, but slowly, your awareness starts to awaken. In other words, Finn had been in a vegetative state for centuries, without anyone to even feed him nutrients. This miserable experience shocked even Elijah. Cole and Camille argued over the ownership of the silver bowl. Camille insisted it was a family heirloom passed down for generations. Cole argued that it was his own creation, the result of his hard work and ingenuity. Just as Cole was about to lose his temper, Davina intervened to calm him down, but Camille noticed Cole's behavior and realized that his reaction was eerily similar to her uncle's when he was cursed by the witches. She shared her observation with Davina. Klaus and Haley had reached the headquarters of Lucien's company. A female receptionist greeted them. Klaus prepared to compel the woman, but she discreetly triggered an alarm, and a group of armed humans surrounded them. The two hybrids were unstoppable, quickly dispatching all the enemies. Klaus casually picked up an access card and swiped it through the security door, but what they saw inside left them stunned. Several werewolves were being used as test subjects, their bodies covered in tubes as they were kept in the lab. Haley pressed a button on one of the werewolves and was shocked to find that he was still alive, but one of the kidnapped vampires is dead.
What the hell is Lucien up to here?
Vincent, hands drenched in blood, chanted a spell over the stone bowl. In the next moment, a pillar of fire shot up into the sky. Lucien finally reached the pinnacle of his life. Eagerly uncorking a bottle to collect some of the fresh blood, Matt blocked Elijah and Finn's path, declaring that Mystic Falls no longer welcomed vampires. He brandished a gun, threatening them to leave. Elijah dismissed Matt as insignificant, saying he was too busy saving his sister to bother with him, but Matt countered that his gun was loaded with wooden bullets, and he didn't mind chatting for a bit longer after all. It wasn't his sister who was going to die. Meanwhile, Cole and Davina had completed the spell. Finn suddenly felt a sharp pain in his head, and Elijah rushed to check on his brother. Finn, however, said he now knew Freya's location. At this point, Lucien had already collected a second vial of blood. Vincent, full of guilt, apologized to Freya before suddenly attacking Lucien, causing him to collapse in pain, but the ancestral witches issued another warning, torturing Vincent until he passed out. Lucien was about to deliver the killing blow to Vincent when Freya stepped forward to protect Vincent. Lucien didn't hesitate, stating that killing Freya first would be just as satisfying, but the Originals brothers and Matt arrived at the scene just in time. They're in a tense standoff. Lucien downed the mystical liquid he had prepared.
Can either of you get to me faster than I can rip your darling sister's head off?
In a flash, Finn grabbed Matt's hand and fired the gun. The bullet pierced through Freya's chest and lodged itself in Lucien's body. Lucien's skin quickly turned pale as he collapsed to the ground. Meanwhile, Klaus successfully rescued the last werewolf. Haley fed her blood to the weakened werewolf, but the lab equipment nearby caught Klaus's attention. He realized that Lucien had been collecting werewolf venom and had already developed a vaccine to cure werewolf bites. Haley couldn't understand the purpose of the dead female vampire. Klaus speculated that she was used to test the efficacy of the vaccine. Freya was revived by her brother's blood. Elijah believed the ordeal was over, but Freya warned that Lucien would only be reborn after death. Finn had helped him complete the final step. At that moment, Lucien slowly stood up, his eyes glowing red. Matt fired wooden bullets at Lucien repeatedly, but Lucien, now transformed, was immune to them. He smugly tossed Matt to the ground. Elijah and Finn attacked him one after the other, but neither was a match for Lucien. Lucien grabbed Elijah by the throat, Finn picked up the stone bowl and struck him with it, but Lucien quickly sank his teeth into Finn's neck. The three siblings were utterly defeated. Losing ground rapidly, Freya, despite her weakened state, managed to create a barrier spell to hold Lucien back. Lucien ceased his assault, stating that he had waited 1,000 years and was now savoring the pleasure of hunting the originals. He vanished in a blur, but Lucien's venom was far more potent than that of ordinary werewolves, and Finn's neck was already rotting badly. Upon learning that Lucien had become a supercharged version of the originals, Cole flew into a fit of rage. He punched a mirror, leaving behind a bloody handprint before storming out. Davina dipped her fingers into Cole's blood and unexpectedly sensed the magic within it. Camille was right, Cole had been cursed by the ancestral witches. Lucien's venom has doubled in speed, and Finn has become so delirious that he thinks his brothers will abandon him once more. Cole remained indifferent to his brother's suffering, unaware that the venom was about to claim Finn's life. Klaus returned just in time, biting his own wrist and feeding his blood to Finn. Haley, meanwhile, cleaned up the battlefield alone, but one of the rescued werewolves revealed that they all came from different packs. The enemy had mixed 7 different venoms together and injected them into the female vampire, reviving her repeatedly with the vaccine until it no longer worked. After drinking Klaus's blood, Finn began to stabilize. He expressed his gratitude to his siblings, even thanking Cole's girlfriend. He said it was the first time he had witnessed true harmony among his brothers. But before he could finish, Finn suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood. Klaus's blood had no effect, and Finn quickly fell into a critical state. Finn, as a vampire, is unable to enter the world of wizards after his death. Davina's spell had bound Finn's soul to his vampire body, meaning Freya could no longer place him back in the necklace. Despite everyone's deep sorrow, Finn closed his eyes, departing the world with lingering regrets.